Family Podcast with your hosts TBC and Eric Young.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Young Family Podcast with with the Youngs, baby. It's me, your host Eric Young, and with me as always, my co-host,
the TBC.
Hey, what's up, TBC?
What's up, honey?
I mean, listen, Carolyn, I feel like it's been a while since we've done one of these, and
Been
I
a hot minute.
feel like you've got something to say to the people out there.
We're back, baby!
You damn right.
Deep Seinfeld reference.
So, we're going to roll out a brand new format with this episode. And, just as a general overarching sort of message, the Young Family Podcast is for people with children, I guess. If you've got children and you feel like you need to connect with people with other children, we are people with children. And we've got some things to talk about. You can check out some of our older episodes on SoundCloud. Pretty sure these new episodes are going to be on YouTube. But let's go ahead and talk about what we are going to be doing tonight. And what we're going to start off with. We have been not doing this podcast since Jackson. I didn't even get to check before the start of the episode. When was the last time we've done one of these?
I think it was right after he was born, or...
We gave up right then and there.
I don't know, man. Things got real, and it got real fast. It was like we had a baby, and our whole life turned upside down.
Yeah.
And we had no time.
I also think it's really funny because I was just thinking the other day about, like, man, it's going to be painful to listen back to the first quote-unquote season of the Young Family Podcast because we recorded the podcast when Carolyn was pregnant with our firstborn Jackson. So we were not yet parents recording a parenting podcast, a family podcast. And, oh my God, it's got to be brutal to listen back.
Well, we were very green, and we didn't know what we were doing.
So
we didn't know what to
green.
expect. And then we had him, and we still don't know what we're doing. Then we had a second. We don't even know what we're doing even worse.
That was a smart decision.
I mean, luckily.
Love her to death. But, man, talk about getting yourself kicked in both butt cheeks. Am I right?
I wouldn't have gotten those choice of words for our dear children. But it's hard.
I'm not
hard.
saying that our children are, bad children by any stretch of the imagination, but that parenting in general is a kick in the butt cheek that you just cannot prepare for. You can't wrap your mind around it. And even more so, I guess we have, family that has kids and whatnot. So, we, even with the vicarious observation of families with kids, we're just unprepared.
You could easily look at friends, family. You could read blogs, articles to try to prepare yourself. But there really is nothing like parenthood unless you're really, doing it.
You know what there is? There's the Young Family Podcast.
I know.
This is your only lifesaver.
We're going to be real.
So real.
We're going to be like, it sucks. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But kind of.
Listen.
I kid.
This is going to be basically the life preserver cast out into the waters of parenthood. If you are a parent or parents, new parents, soon-to-be parents, existing parents, you need that connection. You need that lifesaver.
Support.
Listen to Young
support.
Family Podcast because we like to shuck and jive about our own pain and misery, or let's say tribulations. Am I right? The trials and tribulations. Let's go ahead. We're gonna preview the episode. We're gonna take breaks in this episode. That's going to be the new thing that we're introducing into the format.
For one, we're taking breaks to be transparent, not to interrupt. But we have children now who need us, basically.
At all hours.
Every 15 minutes.
So hopefully both kids are going to sleep through the duration of this recording. But yeah, no, that's real talk. And we're also taking breaks because, let's be honest, Carolyn, we're tired. We really only have 15 minutes of energy that we can fake. And then we just need to keel over for a couple of minutes, compose ourselves, and then we'll come back.
I didn't know that this came with naps.
Yeah.
I've been dying for a nap for 2 years.
Tiny little micro naps. That's it.
Let's do this.
In the first section, which is going to start right after we talk about it, what the episode is going to be, we're going to play a little game that we're naming after a Kelly Clarkson song, I guess. It's called Since We've Been Gone.
I like it.
Maybe right when on my cue, we'll play the Kelly Clarkson song, starting now! Since you've been gone! All right, so this is the game, Since We've Been Gone, the Young Family Podcast. The game is that Carolyn and I only have 2 minutes to talk about basically the last 2 years. Carolyn, you're going to get the first minute, and I'm going to get the second minute. Yeah, ladies first.
No preview?
About what? Oh, about the rest of the episode? I know. God, am I failing as a host right now?
Jumping in with 2 feet?
I am. So we're going to play Since We've Been Gone. In the second section of our episode, it's New Year's Eve right now, by the way. We're recording this at like 11 o'clock on New Year's Eve. There's an hour until midnight. You know, this is our idea of a wild night as parents. We're staying up until midnight and foregoing precious hours of sleep so that we can record this. So it's New Year's Eve. We're going to talk about New Year's resolutions, but with a small twist. We're going to talk about the resolutions that we tell our friends and family and that we may post on social media. And then we're going to talk about the New Year's resolutions as parents that you don't tell people. All right. And we would love feedback from our listeners, too, about what those New Year's resolutions are, specifically the ones that you don't tell people, because this is a community of trust and non-judgment. And then take another short break. And then in the final section, we're going to talk about, even though we are not perfect parents by any stretch of the imagination, we're actually just parents, I would say. We are parents of 2 children, so for any of you new parents out there or soon to be parents, we're going to talk about the things that we learned within the last year that we consider to be the best pieces of advice. So that'll be the advice section of the episode, and then we're going to wrap it up. But first, are you ready to play Since We've Been Gone? Since you've been gone!
Yes, I do have one question, though.
Sure.
When are we opening that bottle of Champagne?
I am so glad you asked, and Carolyn very astutely pointed out that next to me is a chilled bottle of bubbly, and we also have our champagne flutes here. And when we are going to open up this bottle is going to be right in the middle of Since We've Been Gone. Since you've been gone. How do you like that for another twist?
I like it.
All right. So let me break out my stopwatch because Since We've Been Gone is about to go down. All right. So we are 5 seconds away from a minute, and then you're going to start with the first minute. I'm going to open up the champagne bottle. Are you ready? Go!
So since we've been gone, it's been roughly, I guess, 2.5 years. That seems like a long time. We had our son Jackson. He's a great kid, very sweet. Love him to pieces. We decided to try to always have our kids within, a close age. We got lucky and pregnant with our second fairly quickly. It happened to be a daughter. And so we luckily have one of each, one boy and one girl. We had Riley this past year. She's currently 9 months, and she is... Hey-yo!
3 seconds left.
She is also amazing.
Okay, so I got the second minute. So Riley is amazing. And so right at 2 years old, Jackson started preschool. And so that was something because then he goes to preschool 3 days a week. And we also have this brand new addition to the family. And let's see.
I started a new job.
Carolyn started a new job. I actually retired from a career. And so we've got employment. That's the employment situation covered. Riley is 9 months. Jackson is going to be turning 3 in this upcoming April. And then, like I said, he is attending preschool. He was a little bit of a late talker. Now he's talking quite a bit. I've got 5 seconds left. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's do a little bit of this.
We're back, baby.
We are back. That's since we've been gone.
Since you've been gone.
Glad to be back.
All right. Now that since we've been gone is over, I have to say that we put a lot of undue pressure on ourselves to talk about the things that are going on. But I guess that's okay because this podcast is not really about us. What we really want to be about is for the people listening. So anyway, I mean, that was insane to try and summarize 2.5 years. If you are listening to the podcast, challenge yourself to do that, especially if you've got children that are of a young age, like,
It's
whatever.
like an elevator pitch.
Yeah, I know. And we did not prepare for it at all. I thought it would be a fun game, but my God, it's really awful to try and just jam your life into 1 minute. Any portion of it, especially with when you have young kids like us, because the days just the years get muddled together. It's crazy that it's been 2.5 years since the last Young Family podcast. So with that, we are going to take ourselves a short break. Coming up after the break, we've got our resolutions, the New Year's resolutions for 2019, the ones that you'd post on social media, the ones that you just don't tell people. And of course, this is going to be through the scope of parents with 2 children. So stay tuned to the Young Family Podcast. All right, people, welcome back to the Young Family Podcast. This is the New Year's Eve 2018 edition. We are ringing in 2019 with a roarous night for Carolyn and I. We've decided to not go to bed at like 10 p.m. And we're actually enjoying ourselves a glass of champagne right now. And we are talking about New Year's resolutions, because what better to do on New Year's Eve? So the way we're going to talk about this, number one, Carolyn and I are parents of 2 children. We've got a 2.5-year-old Jackson, and then we've got 9-month-old Riley. So these are going to be New Year's resolutions for parents. The first set of resolutions are going to be the ones that you would talk about openly, things that are socially acceptable to say. The second set of resolutions is where we are just going to drop the curtain and we're going to get realer than real, and basically talk about the New Year's resolutions that you might not bring up to people in a public setting, but ones that you really would like to just kind of materialize because they're things you think about inside. So anyway, Carolyn, ladies first, why don't we start with you? What's your cocktail party New Year's resolution as a parent?
I mean, I think that personally and as a parent, my New Year's resolution is kind of getting myself back on track, like health-wise or like working out. I have been breastfeeding, so I am very much into snacking still and needing those extra calories. And, for me, it's like I want to work out, but in my, in the few spare time that I have, all I want to do is sleep and do nothing. So it's kind of like I want to find the time in my new normal with family to be able to work out. I really want to, even if it's like so small, like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, something just to get myself into a healthier lifestyle. I don't want to focus on like the scale. I want to focus on just like being active and then like seeing where it takes me.
One of the things that you said what really kind of stood out to me, and that was within the new normal. And I think that is the challenge, because as parents of these young children, especially in these first years, 0 through 4 or 5 years old, the normal changes almost on a weekly basis, doesn't it? Because just last week, Riley could not even flip over. She couldn't roll over. Now, all of a sudden, within the span of like 7 to 14 days, she can roll over. She can lift herself up on things.
She's crawling.
She's crawling forward, like full steam ahead. So it's like that has changed everything, because that's changed the way that we watch her. That's changed the way that she sleeps. So
she's getting new teeth. I mean, everything is just like happening like all at the same time. And it's true. I mean, I think that's like my biggest problem is because everything is constantly changing. I just like push off like that healthy time for me, that workout time for me. And I don't even know how I'm going to find that time, but my goal is to find time to do it. I have 3 more months with my breastfeeding goal, and hopefully I can do it, within the next 3 months. And that way, once, March, at the end of March happens, I can kind of just roll with that momentum, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to need some support. Anybody have any tips on what you do or what's worked for you? Or
well, listen, I bought you a set of resistance bands for Christmas. So
I know, I appreciate
at
that.
this point right now, I literally do not know how much more I could support.
I could be doing it right now.
See, that's on you. That is on you, girl.
Second episode.
Real talk though, I think that there is some kind of like super zen realization that happens within parents at this stage, where it's like there is no normal. There is not going to be a new normal, because normal is constant change. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, in this sort of like counterintuitive way, you need to be like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna be working out, and it's just going to be this like thing that I resolve to do, but I have absolutely no structured plan for it, because that's pointless, because there's nothing but constant change. So I mean, yeah, the task ahead is not easy, but it's got to be doable. There's people out there that do it, right?
Yes, I think so. I see healthy moms. They're fit.
Like fitness, like.
And I don't mean like
models
I don't mean
on Instagram.
I don't mean like I have to be back to my normal or my previous size.
Your pre-baby size.
Right. I'm not saying that. I've seen videos or pictures of me recently where I'm like, whoa, I was tiny. And I am relatively still
You're
tiny.
You're a petite woman.
Yes.
Yes.
But I just feel like when I see little things like here, I just feel like I need to get a little bit healthier, tone up a little bit.
So something that you mentioned to me earlier was that like when you used to work out before having children, it was, to like maintain your figure or, to like feel fit or whatever. But now as a parent, especially we're both getting older. We are certainly not getting any younger.
No, the other day I was bending over and my like knees like snapped in half. And I like fell to the ground.
Yeah, that's old age, baby. So that's like, so working out is no longer for just like cosmetics. Like it is for survival.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just here to survive, but I need help. Just have to do it. I have to. What's yours?
So my resolution as a parent that I actually would say to someone is, in 2019, I really want to get my eldest son potty trained. Reason
It's
why?
time.
Yeah. I mean, so he's gonna be 3 in April, and reason why my resolution only revolves around one of my children is because he'll be the first one to get potty trained. And it's like, out of all the things that we have accomplished so far as parents, that's the one thing we haven't. And so it's like, it's still kind of intimidating to me. I have heard that the process of potty training is you pick a weekend, you stop, you break all your plans, you're not going anywhere. You're not leaving the house for 48 to 72 hours.
Housebound.
And you don't put them in a diaper. And they pee and poop all over the house. But then at the end of that lock-in, you've got a potty trained kid.
I mean, I think that, yeah, that is kind of like what they say, where like every like 15 minutes you kind of remind them, like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Do you have to go to the bathroom? And with Jackson, I mean, he has gone to the bathroom on the toilet before.
Right.
But it's just kind of turning that into a habit rather than just kind of like a thing that you maybe do
It's a novelty
when you
right
feel
now.
like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I am really open to anybody who has any tips about potty training, little boys.
Yeah.
Because we've never gone down the potty training route before. And
Oh my God, is it different for boys and girls?
I think boys are slower. Maybe like they like don't really
So they're
want
the
to.
they're the more challenging gender to potty train, right?
From what I've heard, yes.
All right.
I believe so.
So that's another reason why it's like, if we can get through Jackson, then, you know, based on historical evidence would indicate that Riley should be easier because, you know, A, we'll have had experience as parents, and then B, she's a girl, so she's kind of ready for it a little bit earlier.
I mean, yes to all of that, but not only that, I feel like even with Riley now, like with your first child has nothing to, especially children who are not in school all the time, they have nothing to kind of like view for like an example. But
Right.
like Riley,
Other than us.
right? But I mean, we're like giants compared to them.
Yeah,
Like-
and we do all sorts of weird stuff that he doesn't do.
Right. So like with
Right.
Jackson,
So
like
going to the bathroom on a toilet is just another thing. It's like, oh man, there goes those big people again, just doing some wacky
I mean, I guess
stuff.
maybe that was like a bad like example, but like with like Riley, like she is like crawling a lot faster than Jackson ever did.
Yeah.
She's pulling herself up a lot faster than Jackson ever did. So it's like she's gonna have an example of like, you know, her brother who she looks up to, and it's gonna say, I want to do that. I want to do what he's doing.
So you chalk that up to a second child's learning vicariously. I've always kind of chalked that up to the gender thing, that because Riley's a girl, that she is picking up on things quicker. But of course, it can be a combination of the two. But regardless, so, you know, if I were at a fancy schmancy cocktail party this evening and people were asking me as a parent what my resolution is for 2019, it would be that. But you want to know something? That's not the only resolution that I have, because deep down in my, you know, dark and deplorable side, there are other things that I resolve, you know, to do in this year that might not be so classy to talk about. I think we all have these things. So, Carolyn, with that, I want to know what's your parenting New Year's resolution for 2019 that you just don't talk to people about?
I mean, do you find it strange that we're not supposed to be, that we like, don't want to talk about it? Yeah, we're gonna like tell everyone that's listening.
There is a tinge of irony to it. To that, I would say it's because the Young Family Podcast is all about openness and a judgment-free zone, baby.
All right.
So come as you are.
I think if I were to just kind of say the first thing that is like pops into my head,
Shoot from the hip, baby.
would probably be screen time. And meaning, I'm not opposed to screen time. And I don't even really know like what like the guideline is of what they say like the limit should be. But
Right.
I feel that sometimes with Jackson, more recently, like more since we've had Riley, that it's screen time has kind of become a little bit of almost like a pacifier.
Mm-hmm.
And almost strangely enough, because he just recently got off of his pacifier.
It is literally his new pacifier.
And I feel
Yeah.
yes. So it's kind of like the replacement thing that like soothes him.
Carolyn, there was a point like last week where we were helping him to get over having no pacifier, where I looked to you and said, YouTube is his new pacifier.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that is not something to like brag about. That's like horrible. I mean,
but the kid needs something, and the way that I've
not
always
you two.
Well, the way that I've spun it to him is that, babies use pacifiers and big boys get to watch YouTube. So it's almost like a privilege thing. But, I mean, yeah, of course, I hear you.
Then,
We
like,
as parents
then-
are always going to be self-conscious, I guess, about, like, just handing our kids, a smartphone or a tablet and being like, here, watch this so that I don't have to pay attention to you. We're always going to have, a little bit of guilt about that.
I mean, sometimes, especially when I'm alone with the kids, especially like during like putting Riley down or needing to cook dinner. I mean, sometimes the the TV or the the iPad is just easy because it does kind of like
So
allow him
easy.
to zone out. But like,
It's like, if you want to instantly turn your toddler into a zombie, then
yeah, but that's
drooling zombie.
But that's my point. Like, that makes
Yeah.
me like sad because it's like I don't want our kid to be that kid behind the screen. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think like for everybody, we're so glued to our phones,
Right.
that it's just kind of like second nature. It's like you leave the house, like where's my phone? Like you get in the car, where's my phone? And it's like I don't want him to at that young age like thinking, oh, I need that phone, I need that tablet, I need that screen time. So it's like my goal would be like, how can I entertain him, or how can I engage him, or like help soothe him or pacify him when he is having a tough time.
Yeah.
I'm okay with screen time, and
Yeah.
we do give him educational. I'm not saying that screen time is bad, because believe me, he has it, but I'm just trying to hopefully like cut back just a little bit. I love TV. I've always been big into TV, but I'm trying to give my children the good
Something
from me,
better. Yeah.
and hopefully not take
Leaving the bad behind. Well, I don't know. Personally, as your husband and the father of your children, I think you need to go easy on yourself a little bit.
I know, but I'm just saying, if I were to not think too much about it,
Yeah,
that would be
yeah,
my
yeah.
goal. It's just a little bit less.
All right, well, let's run with it. I mean, like, so what would be the alternative? How do you execute your resolution? How do you limit it?
I mean, like, I don't know.
You got nothing.
Well, if anybody
Email us.
Yeah, no, seriously. If you do have
The
for
email
those
is
of us-
youngfamilypodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm open to anybody's suggestions,
Mm.
because I am kind of at that turning point where it's like I don't want it to become, an all the time thing, and
Yeah.
and it's not, but it's
Yeah.
just like I just feel like it's like I don't want it to go down that path.
I will give you credence to this. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to see a slippery slope occur where it's like it becomes more and more and more, and the need for it, kind of grows, where like we can't calm him down anymore if not for screen time. So yeah, I see where you're going with that. You don't want to see it like just go down that route where it becomes like something that you're dependent on. So I don't know. I mean, like, for me personally, the way that I justify it is like I always need to sandwich the screen time in between some very, very distinctly non-screen time things. Like, we just read a story, screen time, and then you go have independent playtime. And like those are all equally, like 15-minute blocks. And so like with that, like if I just needed that 15 minutes to like not have to to pay attention to him so that I could do something necessary for the family, like prepare dinner or something like that, that's the way that I feel okay about that. But Anyway, like we said, we're open to all the advice that you've got out there. So hit us up, youngfamilypodcast@gmail.com. You want to hear about what my not so socially acceptable New Year's resolution is for 2019?
I do.
I am resolving. This sounds so bad. It sounds so bad. I just thought about the words I'm about to say, and it sounds awful. But I want to talk to my youngest, my daughter, more. I want to talk to my daughter more. That sounds awful.
Explain.
Let's put it in context. Okay, so Jackson, I said this earlier in the Since We've Been Gone section. Jackson is a late talker, so he's almost
still learning.
He's almost 3 years old. He is like barely conversational, but he's made amazing progress and whatnot. So a lot of the time with Jackson is composed of this very, very, like over enunciated kind of speech, and we're like always constantly pointing out words and pronunciations and asking him to say things back. And quite frankly, it's pretty exhausting. Interactions with our oldest child is constant. And then now that we're getting speech back from him, it warrants more speech, right? So like we are speaking to him more, he's speaking to us more, so on and so forth. So when I am watching both children and Jackson finally goes to sleep, let's say, or I drop him off at school and now I'm driving around with just Riley, those used to be the moments, where I was driving around with one kid, used to just be Jackson, where I would be, from the driver's seat, looking in the rearview mirror and trying to engage him and speaking to him. And with Riley, now that after an hour and a half of, getting two children ready and getting them out the door and bringing them to a preschool and dropping one of them off at a preschool and, saying goodbye and getting the other one back into the car, like I'm mentally and physically exhausted, And so in that moment where I should then be engaging my youngest child in speech, and giving her the things that I gave to Jackson, man, I am like, I'm like, Daddy needs a minute, and Daddy's been taking a minute, and so that's, I feel a lot of personal guilt about that.
I mean, I hear you, but I would also not be so hard on yourself, because it's important for you to get those minutes, because you need to be your best self. And if taking a minute or two in order to kind of just regroup or refresh before you kind of engage with Riley, while you have her, or
Right.
before you pick up Jackson, then take that time. And for to go back with Jackson, he's in speech therapy now because he is a late talker, and we're trying to pull out those words. So we do have to kind of take that extra initiative and extra effort to enunciate, help him, encourage him to say those words. So it's
Right.
it is exhausting, I mean, for anybody.
Yeah, do you know what it's like, to have to over enunciate the word yellow 5,000 times? And then you've got another kid where you're like, you're like, wait a second, oh my god.
But just think, with Riley, just like we did with Jackson, talk to her, like normal. You don't have to do the baby talk, just like we did with Jackson. And start with the easy ones: mama, dada, hello,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there are these moments where the only thing that I say to Riley is I'm real sorry that Dad's not very talkative right now. Because I finally got your brother down to take a nap, And it feels wrong. That's all. It feels wrong. So
I hear ya.
in 2019, I want to muster the strength somehow, and I think that it's gonna be easier in 2019 because Jackson's getting older, so he's gonna be, I don't know, hopefully a little bit less exhausting in the forthcoming year.
Yeah.
And so, and Riley is, might learn things a little bit quicker, so she becomes a little bit more interactive. When you can actually speak and get something back from, the thing that you created, it's actually kind of cool, when it kind of happens on its own naturally. So it's like, if Riley happens to just be, I guess, a normal talker as compared to Jackson, that's a late talker, then, that might make the whole process easier and more fun. I don't know. So who knows what 2019 will bring, but that's the thing that I would never, ever say to anyone, except here I am broadcasting it on the internet. So that's fun. Why don't we take our final short break, and then in the last section of the podcast, we're going to talk about our pearls of wisdom, the pieces of advice that Carolyn and I learned in the last year, in 2018, that we want to share with other parents for the forthcoming year. So stick with us, Young Family Podcast. Be back in a second. All right, everybody, Young Family Podcast. This is our final section of the evening, and this is a New Year's Eve edition. It's New Year's Eve 2018. It's about to be the year 2019 in 10 minutes.
Woohoo!
Carolyn's just overcome with enthusiasm.
I am so tired. And this champagne is not helping.
No. I thought it was going to have an opposite effect on you. I thought it was going to jack you up, but that was a mistake. Anyway, so in the final section, Carolyn and I were going to give the piece of advice that we basically crystallized in the year 2018 that we would love for anyone out there that's listening. We're hoping that soon-to-be parents, new parents, parents that feel, maybe if you feel lost or disconnected, if you're listening to the Young Family Podcast, maybe a little drop of wisdom from two-time parents over here might help. I will speak personally that we are by no means claiming to be experts in parenthood, but, we've got two, and so maybe we have a thing or two, a bit of insight that we might be able to say that could help you out. Who wants to go first?
You can go first. I'll feed off you.
All right. The thing that I learned, or I guess the thing that I've always kind of felt, but that I really kind of like crystallized in this last year, was that no matter what, you need to enthusiastically give your partner breaks.
That's like mine. That's not all mine. Mine's
All right.
similar to yours.
Let's split hairs then. I want to emphasize the word enthusiastically, because what I've learned is that it's not even enough to give your partner breaks when you're parents. It's that you need to be like, yo, you're about to go on a break. You're about like you like massages, right? So it's like not just that I'm like, okay, Carolyn, go get a massage. I'll cook dinner for the kids and I'll put them both to bed. Don't worry about, like, there can't even be like a tinge of guilt in it. You need to be like cheering the person on as they leave the house. Be like, hell yeah, like, you go get that break. Get that break. Like, so don't put the negative juju on the fact that you're giving your partner the break. Don't keep score. Don't be like, oh, well, that's your 7th break this year, you know, as compared to, I've only had 3. Like, it's got to be natural. It's got to be genuine. But like, if you can really find that within yourself, and it's hard, but like, if you can find that strength within yourself to like take over the family or the kids or just the one kid while your partner goes and gets a break, and you support them 100,000,000,000% as they're walking out the door, it's so great for them. It's so great for them as parents. It's so great for your relationship as partners. And selfishly, it's also good for you because you need to think of it as like an investment. Like you're putting money in the bank. Like, because it's eventually going to help you down the road because it's going to avoid a fight later on.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that there is definitely something special about, you know, getting time away to rejuvenate and recharge. Because I feel that, like, some days I feel that, you know, we're, like, drowning. You know, we have a small business. We have, you know,
You have a full-time job.
I have a full-time job.
40
we have
plus
2
hours
kids.
a week.
We have 1 kid in school. You know, we're trying to have time for, each other, our friends. And it's like...
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, and then maybe have a social life?
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
So it's like, I feel that, like, some days I just kind of want to, like, cry. Because it's like, I want... You know, sometimes it's like I miss that portion of, like, you know, the life that we had, like, before we had kids. But then it's like... The life that we have now with kids is, like, so wonderful, but in so many different aspects of it. But then it's like I miss... that area, but I do feel that like for me going to work is like it's work. So it's like, you know, for me to come home and be able to like go get that massage, for you to be able to like go play hockey, you know, the occasional dinner with our friends is like so important. I kind of want to chime in a little bit too with like goals again for 2019. A little bit of a family. I kind of thought about one.
Tying it all in.
I think it's important that we somehow find more time for each other. Like, because, like, it's important that we build, you know, our love tank as a couple as well. Not that we...
Are we building it or are we filling it?
Like,
we have a tank that's built.
We're filling it. We're like filling it back up. Now that it's like empty.
I was gonna say,
not.
because if it's like, if in this analogy, if we have to build it first, like, man, are we behind? We don't even have a tank to fill.
We have a tank.
There's a tank.
We have years of tank. But with that said, it's just that, like, I feel that, like, with children, you kind of, like, it's easy to get away from, like, your, you know, the relationship portion of, like, our, you know, the couple. So it's like, my goal is for just to build more time for each other, whether it's, like, dinners after the kids go to sleep, or more date nights, you know, with babysitters, or, you know, something that we can just kind of focus on each other rather than, like, doing, like, household things as a family. Like,
right.
Things where it's like, oh, we have to change, you know, the air filter. We have to wash the car. Like, even though that's, like, spending time together, I think it's important, you know, we have, like, conversations, kind of like what we're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, to have, like, the gratifying time together. Because, like, yeah, even though we are looking each other in the face when we're washing the car, like, nobody's happy. Like, nobody's like having a great time when you're like, oh yeah, no, this is exactly what I wanted to do with my Saturday, is like wash this car. Well, I agree with you. The thing that I don't agree with you about is that you had originally said that we kind of had the same, like, piece of advice to give each other.
That wasn't my advice. My advice is...
Wait, so you haven't even gotten to it yet?
I know, that was like a long roundabout way, but here I come.
By the time you finish this answer, it's going to be 2019, by the way. It's 11:59 on the dot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm all distracted. But
If the listeners are lucky, maybe they'll hear a midnight makeout. Am I right? Gross.
my goal was
Parents don't make
my
out.
advice was just basically like, like work together as a team.
Be
like-
specific. What does that mean? Give an example.
Like, both of your days are long for different reasons.
Right.
Like whether it's like working at a job or working with the kids. Both of your days are long and exhausting for different reasons.
Right.
But they both are exhausting.
Yeah.
So it's like when you come home, you share responsibilities. One does dishes while one puts the kids to sleep. Like one cooks dinner while, one spends time with the kids. It's like
Right.
you don't expect that just because like, I've been home all day with the kids, for example, that means that, you get a break or I get a break when the other gets home. It's
Right.
like there's still things that need to be done.
Keep working.
Keep working together.
Right. And then it's not so bad. Be in it together.
Because I feel
Yeah.
that, like,
And-
with you being so supportive and you being so helpful, I feel that, like, we're able to kind of have a little bit more of our night at the end of the night before,
Yeah.
before we go to sleep, because it's like we're working together to kind of make that happen. And I really have appreciated, not having to do all of it.
And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that my gender really needs to listen up in that regard, because typically, though you and I kind of have like a backward scenario
right now. Yeah.
We've got normally there's, I don't even know if this is normal or if this is even politically correct to say, but for many of the couples that I know, you've got if there is a parent that is staying home with the children, it's typically the woman, right? And then so you have a man that is either running a business or goes to work full time, 40 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
And then so for if there is a man in that situation, they often kind of fall into this conception that like, well, like I'm exhausted when I get home. Like I've worked the entire day. Like and so yes, to your point, I like obviously being home with the children, exhausting, brutal, back-breaking work. Like so even though you have worked a different kind of exhausting job, no matter if you're the man, the woman, you're going to an office to work, or if you're staying home with the children, whatever
It's
it
work.
is,
It's all
when
exhausting.
it's all work, and when it's dinner time and when it's bedtime, like you're not off duty.
Well, that's where I think that, like,
Just keep working together.
to like take your advice. If you work together as a team, you give your spouses those breaks to rejuvenate, to recharge. Everyone's going to be happy, because it's like we do need those moments to step away,
Right.
and just kind of like
Right.
take
Right.
that breather, and then come back as like a better parent, a better wife, a
Right.
better friend, spouse.
Yeah. And that's what I meant by like it's also kind of selfish to just sometimes say, no, honey, you go away and you go take a drive, or you go take a nap, or go do your favorite thing that you like to do. Whatever it is. Like you go do that. But it's the reason why I say that that's actually a selfish thing on your part is because by giving your partner that bit of relief and allowing them to rejuvenate themselves, they're going to be a better partner for you when they come back. So then the next day when it's dinner time and bedtime and y'all are working together, then they're going to be working that much harder, because they're going to be like, like I really appreciated the fact that I got that break yesterday. So, here, like, yeah, I want to do whatever I can to show that I'm grateful. And so it's totally self-gratifying, even though it's kind of one of the more selfless things you can do. It's if you're a selfish person, it still comes back to help you. So anyway, with that, we're going to wrap it up, because guess what? It's 2019, baby.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year to everyone listening to the Young Family Podcast. I just got a kiss, by the way. It wasn't a makeout, but we did.
We're wrapping things up,
Yeah. I mean, don't imply anything gross. Come on, get out of here.
Believe me.
This is a G-rated show, dear.
All right,
Anyway, so
stay tuned
Happy New Year. Yeah,
Our goal is
our
to-
real resolution in 2019 is to make more young family podcasts. And this one might have been kind of awful because it was the first one in a while. But
Well, and it's like way past my bedtime.
yeah. And then we like threw
You gave me,
like
like,
booze.
alcohol.
We threw booze into the mix. That was a mistake.
But
so
I promise you,
like
just give us another chance.
let us warm up a little bit. We just kind of needed to shake the cobwebs off. If anything that we said in this episode sparked any thoughts in your mind, please email us at youngfamilypodcast, spelt exactly as it sounds, at gmail.com. Again, that's youngfamilypodcast at gmail.com. I think we're going to wind up putting this episode on YouTube. We'll post that on social media. But in the meantime, we're going to go to bed because we're exhausted. Love ya, and peace out, everybody. Peace.